Hello there, 7th graders. This is Teacher Krishna, and welcome to our science class for week number 16. One more time, thank you a lot for all of the effort that you have put into completing all of the online lessons that you have had, and of course for successfully turning in all of your assignments so far. I really wish that each one of you is doing well, and of course you are safe at home with all of your families. And I recommend that you take an advantage out of the time that you are staying at home. You can start a new hobby, or you can go back to a hobby that you haven't done for a really long while. You can read a book, or you can play an instrument. It is very important that you remain healthy as well, so you can exercise a little bit at home. That is something very important that you can do. So with that being said, let's start off with our class. And right before we start, we have to follow some directions very quickly. So get your physical or digital book, enter to the Google Classroom, download your Word document, and of course save it in your science folder just like always. Remember to name your file just like it is specified right below. As we move, remember to take notes on your Word document. That is very important so you can keep track of the most essential parts from this video and PowerPoint presentation. So this week we're going to have our review and assessment for pages 93 to 95. It is always crucial to start with our end in mind. So for this week it's the following. Students will be able to answer key questions and concepts from chapter 3 to complete the evaluation correctly. Okay, so notice that today you have to complete a assignment that I will share with you in the Google Classroom. Okay, so after you have finished studying and completing all of the questions from the review and assessment, you can go ahead and complete the assessment online. Okay, so let's discuss some questions. Just like we did last time, I'm going to give you around half of the questions from the review and assessment. I will give you the answer and I'm going to expand the explanation a little bit more, but you have to complete the remaining questions from the review and assessment, okay? So in that way I can evaluate how much you have learned from the lessons we have had before. So we have question number 1. What did Wenneger think happens during continental drift? So we have several options. We have continents move, continents freeze, the mantle warms, or convection stops. So the only possible answer is that continents move. Remember that Wenneger had several theories, and one of the ones that he had was related to the continental drift. Remember that he mentioned that sometime in the past, all of the continents were together. And thanks to continental drift and with a lot of time, literally millions of years, then they separated. Okay, let's go with number 2. Wegener thought that all the continents were once joined together in a supercontinent that he called Pangaea. Yes, remember that we studied this before in one of the lessons, that the combinations of all of the continents that he was theorizing about were called Pangaea. Number 3, draw. The drawing shows North America and Africa. Circle the parts of the coastlines of the two continents that were joined in Pangaea. Well, it is already signalized in there, and you can notice that there is a circle in North America and one circle in Africa. So, one more time, in Wenneger's theory, all of the continents were together. And he was theorizing this because he noticed that if we will rearrange the continents in a certain way, they will actually match together. So there's two lines that are signalized here in number 3 are not the only two lines that will actually match in other continents. So if we will match Africa with South America, it will actually fit as well. Let's go with number 4. Make judgments. Wegener proposed that mountains form when continents collide, crumpling up their edges. Was Wegener's theory about how mountains run consistent with his hypothesis of continental drift? Explain. Okay, so can we relate Wegener's theory to the creation of mountains and, of course, continental drift and the movement of continents? Well, the answer is yes. It was consistent because if the continents can drift, then they can collide with each other to form mountains. Yes, we analyzed that and continents can actually be joined together, and once they collide, then they are going to create mountains. Okay, we have number 5. Write about it. Michelle is a scientist working in Antarctica. She learns that fossils of Glossopteris have been found in Antarctica. Her colleague Joy, working in India, has also found Glossopteris fossils. Write a letter from Michelle to her colleague explaining how these fossils could be found in both places. They find. Just give me 1 second, guys. Sorry, guys, I'm back. So, how is it possible that they both found the same fossils but in different continents? We can notice that, of course, these continents are separated by water portions. So, this is possible thanks to the explanation that Wegener gave in his theory and everything. So, it is possible because, assuming that once all continents were together in Pangaea, then we can think about having the same species in different parts of the supercontinent. So once the continents started to move and to separate, then there were some species that remained in the same portions of ground, of course, but they were separated for the continental drift. Okay, so that is how you can explain that you found the same fossils in different continents. Okay, so number 6, in which areas does subduction of the ocean floor take place? So of course this will take place in the deep ocean trenches. So if you analyze the rest of options that you can see right there, you will notice that they will not match with what you are being asked for. And of course, about subduction. Number 7, a mid-ocean ridge is a long chain of mountains that rises up from the ocean floor. Remember that this was studied several years ago with sonars, and they noticed that there are these mountain structures all around the world, and of course that they come right from the ocean floor, I mean. Number 8, compare and contrast. Look at the diagram. Label the area where neocrust forms. Okay. So you can notice that here we have a diagram that represents mid-ocean ridges. Basically, we can remember a little bit about the parts from here. Remember that I told you about magma coming right from the middle of the mid-ocean ridge. And remember one more time that when magma enters in contact with water, then it is going to cool down, and all of the material that is solid and that has turned into a rock is going to mobilize from either way of the mid-ocean ridge. It can go either on the left or on the right. But the part specifically where it is created is right in the middle from both. Okay. Number 9, apply concepts. Why are the oldest parts of the ocean floor no older than about 200 million years? Well, because very old parts of the ocean floor undergo subduction at deep ocean trenches. Yeah, and keep in mind that it takes a lot of time for all of the ocean floor to be renewed. in order to have like a new label of material on it, okay? Because of course, there are a lot of mid-ocean ridges around the world that are constantly creating and giving the ocean floor a lot of material. But you have to take into consideration that all of that material needs to travel and need to be mobilized all around the ocean floor, which takes a lot of time. Number 10, sequence. Place the following steps of seafloor spreading in their correct sequence. So the first step that we will find, it will be letter C. Molten material from inside Earth rises to the ocean floor at a mid-ocean ridge. That is the first thing we have to find. Then number 2, we have letter A. The molten material cools and hardens, forming a strip of rock along the ocean floor. And lastly, we have letter B. The strip of rock moves away from the ridge. One more time, we can remember the whole structure of the mid-ocean ridges. And it's basically the same process. Magma comes out, then it becomes rock, and then it is mobilized from either way. Then number 11, write about it. How is pillow lava evidence of seafloor spreading? This is related to one of the parts of the evidence that we were analyzing about the theories that were being created about mid-ocean ridges, in which they specified that there's specific rocks, the ones that look like a pillow shape, and assuming that they come from lava, of course, we are going to know that these rocks are going to form when they cool pretty quickly. And how is it possible that magma is going to cool down pretty quickly? Well, it is possible because magma enters in contact with water, it cools down, and of course we have the resulting rock. Many rocks were extracted near the mid-ocean ridges, and of course, basically, they found the same evidence in several places around the world, so that supported why they are related. Then we have number 12. At which boundary do two plates pull apart? So we have to go back to the movement of the plate tectonics that we were analyzing. And basically, when two plates are pulling apart or they are separating, we call that movement divergent. Okay? And the last one that we're going to discuss for today is number 13. When a divergent boundary occurs on land, it forms a rift valley. We analyzed a specific example in Iceland, in which there was a very touristic place in which two plates were actually separating from each other, or they were diverging from each other. And it was so big that many people could actually walk right in the middle of those two plates that were being separated from each other. Okay. So now let's go with your evaluation. So complete all the questions from the review and assessment section for chapter 3, pages 93 to 95. Just like I mentioned before, I gave you the answer already for 13 questions. So now it's your turn to answer the rest of questions. Let's start with the questions and answers when you finish. Access the evaluation shared by the teacher in Google Classroom and answer all questions carefully. So please, guys, take your time to answer the questions because that is your evaluation for today. You don't have to submit any documents today. You only have to take the evaluation that I shared with you in Google Classroom, okay? And in order to make your work a little bit easier, you can copy and paste the images with the first 13 questions and answers directly to your Word document. Then you can directly answer the questions in your Word document without the need of copying all of the questions, okay? I recommend that you take some screenshots from your computer and of course you paste all of those screenshots in your Word document so you can have the questions as a reference in there. But it's better if you do not copy all of the questions so you have a little bit more time to study. So that has been it for today's lesson. It's been a pleasure working with you again. So goodbye, guys.